Gregory Fischer is a writer, copy editor, marketing strategist, and former editor-in-chief of the Weekly Citizen, The Chief, and the Post-South newspapers in Louisiana, and contributor to the Times-Picayune in New Orleans. He is certified in professional copy editing, proofreading, and fact-checking by NYU's School of Professional Studies, and is the founder of Make It Right, WRITE, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Greg wrote The Mayor of Mardi Gras, a memoir. A little preview is New Orleans Mardi Gras parades date back to 1857. Many people attend Mardi Gras. Fewer people participate as members of a crew, and still fewer work year-round as artists and float builders. Greg is here to share some of his experiences. And his books, there's going to be a table in the back that they can be purchased afterwards. Greg? Thank you.
Get set up here. I know we're going to run out of time, so we got a lot to say. First of all, thanks to everyone for being here. Thanks, Martha, for inviting me. A few months ago, I got a call, and I wasn't expecting it, but I was invited to come here and speak with you guys, and it was something that was really exciting for me because I haven't thought of myself as a Mardi Gras guy for a long time, to be honest. So when Martha said, I want you to come be the Mardi Gras guest, I thought that's pretty special, and it stirred up a lot in me, so thank you so much. I don't know how you found me, but I'm really happy that you did. I was on the Zoom call last month with Dom Graves, and I think that guy's awesome, y'all. I'm really happy that he was here, and I admire everything about the Chewbacca's parade and all of the younger energy that's going into Mardi Gras and the art of it and everything. It's just so exciting. And my cousin Mackie was a full-time float builder, a third-generation float builder, and he passed away, unfortunately, December 27th, 2021. 2022. 2021. Okay. And Mackie and I would have spoken about Chewbacca with such admiration because we worked on more old school type Mardi Gras stuff. You know, we weren't always doing the most innovative, exciting things for us. I mean, it might have seemed exciting to others, and honestly, I've always felt like I was right in the middle of New Orleans culture when I was at the Float Den. You know, I always felt like I was spiritually being carried off, and I wasn't a part of myself, if that makes sense. And so I just want to say that it was nice to see the guy who's behind the guy at Chewbacca's. I'm Greg Fischer. You guys know me. And I work full-time as a stand-up comedian. I'm just kidding. I don't. Although I did do stand-up comedy once in Baton Rouge for an open mic night when I was an undergrad at LSU. And I drank a lot of whiskey to get up on stage. And it was, as Andy Warhol would say, my 10 minutes of fame, I think. I don't know if I was good or not, but my friend told me I was okay. I live in Baton Rouge. As Martha said, I've been there for a few years. I have a wife. Her name's Carrie Fisher, just like Princess Leia. That's a true story, as Cousin Mackie would say. I have two wonderful stepchildren, Claire and Charlie. They're at Shenandoah Elementary. Claire's a 5th grader, and Charlie is a 2nd grader? Yeah, he's getting too big. So Yeah, that's my immediate family, but my big extended family, I always say, is a Mardi Gras family, because my mom's twin sister married a carnival worker. I mean, not a carnival worker, but a business owner, and a man who'd been established due to his father's hard work since the Great Depression. He went by Big Mac Cantrell, and he's kind of a mysterious guy. Part of the reason why I wrote the book, The Mayor of Mardi Gras, is because I wanted a historical artifact to save the memories of Big Mac Cantrell and the Cantrell family and their contributions to the city in the form of Mardi Gras art and culture. Because I don't think anybody else was going to do it. So this gave me a chance to do that. I was born in 1982, and so I'll be 41 this year. And around that time, Big Mac Cantrell had the crew of Mardi Gras. There you go. And it paraded in Metairie. He set up his business in Metairie, but at some point in the 80s, the Cantrells built for 25, nearly 25 Mardi Gras crews in New Orleans and in Metairie. Today, Big Mac's son, my Uncle Mac, who I really wanted to be here to introduce you guys to, unfortunately, he couldn't make it. He had to move 60 floats. He's still doing Mardi Gras, and it's carnival season, so he was busy and he couldn't be here. But in 1982, he had the crew of Thor in Metairie. He was the captain, and his dad was the captain of the crew of Mardi Gras. So I remember being a kid, maybe 4 years old, 3 years old. I don't really remember this. I just know there's photographs of me as a page, in the crew of Thor, wearing a sequined costume with a little hat and a feather. And my mom was into the hilt, as the Queen of Thor that year, and so she looked beautiful, and that was probably my earliest go at this culture thing that we have here. And I just want to say that, when I talk about Mardi Gras to New Orleanians, especially New Orleanians that still live in the city, I always feel like I don't want to step on anybody's toes, because everybody does something for Mardi Gras, more or less, I find. Not everybody. Some people hate it, and that's fine too. But for the most part, I know everybody's involved, and everybody has their own Mardi Gras stories and history, and I don't really think mine's any more important than yours. I just wanted to write mine down because it helped me grieve over my cousin and the loss of my cousin. What I hope is that when you read the book, The Mayor of Mardi Gras, it reminds you of your best friend that you lost at some point in your life, or if that was a family member, And I really wanted to convey that from the heart, sort of love, because it shocked me to the core to lose my cousin. When my mom called me, it was a couple days after Christmas, 2021, and she said, "Mackie died." And I said, "Whoa, what do you mean?" And that's it. If I tell you any more of that story, I'm going to tremble and fall to the floor. So I'm going to slow down, and I'm going to take a second here and pull up a photograph. So bear with me. That's a good one. That's good as any, I guess. This is a Cantrell float here. It's pretty classic, right? No frills. You see there's fringe, twinkly lights, This was probably painted by my cousin Mackie. And myself, actually. I actually would go in before Mackie would make it detailed like this, and I would just paint the dark colors. He would take a long bamboo stick with a piece of black charcoal on the end, like a piece of chalk, black chalk, and he would just outline the bare minimum for me. And so I could go in and just paint the dark colors, and then he would come in later with smaller brushes or an airbrush machine, and he would make it look beautiful. I wanted to tell you guys what is a float, and I think it's important because last night I was Googling parade float chassis. Google, what is a parade float chassis? And let me tell you, they have no idea. They have no idea. It kind of blows my mind. I mean, the chassis that they have for sale on the internet don't look like our chassis. They're weird. They look like they're like for the homecoming parade that gets pulled behind the truck, I mean, you know what it is. This chassis is humongous. It's red, usually painted red, but it's steel, and it has a set of wheels. Almost looks like an 18-wheeler chassis, to be honest. But it's very basic. It has to be customized to build the float. So, it has rivets, is that what you would say? Welded, in places so that our guys can take big pieces of wood, plop them on top, and drill them through to make the foundation of the float. And then basically on top of that, you take flat plywood boards and make the floor of the float on top of this, and you make the foundation. It's all customized, so you have to drill little pieces in so that you can put more pieces in to make the railings. You do this out of 2x4s. It's it costs a lot of money. It costs a lot more money to make a float than it used to. But it's a lot faster because my Uncle Mac told me that back in the day, before they had the electric handsaw, they used to use hatchets to do this. So I always thought that was pretty cool. But today we have, we have air compressors. So we can plug in nail guns and staple guns that make it go a lot faster. Once you have the platform and the rails set up, this wavy cloud-like carving there on the top of the rails is also a customizable thing. I mean, a man has to take a 2x4 and sit there and make several of these. So before that's added, this is just flat. And you have to make a few more of these cuts to angle on the float, staple to it. And then you take a big, it's cotton, it's just cotton, it's canvas. And it comes in a huge roll. And these men take the roll and they run around the float. And somebody runs behind them and staples, boop, 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 until it starts to take shape. And that's kind of how it's done. Once that's done, of course, you add the latex paint to it. Don't forget, you have toilets on these floats, not flushable, but you have porta potties. You have to do the whole thing, so you have to build a staircase so everyone can get upstairs. It's like building a small house, and it takes a while to do this. And it was amazing. So I got to do this for a year with my cousin Mackie. I worked at the float tent full time for just a year, between 2011 and 2012 carnival season. So I was born in New Orleans, at Baptist Hospital, and this is important because at some point I hated New Orleans, like James Joyce hated Ireland or something. That's what I thought in my head. I didn't know what I was talking about. But I had a lot of stuff up there, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to become a famous writer, and I'm going to move out to Los Angeles, and I'm going to become a screenwriter. I'm going to write movies, and everybody else is going to worship me. And I'll tell you, this really weird thing happened one night. My great aunt Esther, on my dad's side, she stopped me the Christmas, while I was working at the float den, this Christmas season, right before Mardi Gras. She stopped me on Christmas Eve and she had me come, Greg, come here, come sit by me, you know? And it blew my mind because we weren't super close. I didn't know that she knew what was going on with me this sharply, you know? My great aunt Esther, I don't know how old she was, she might have been 90, late 80s. And she made me look at her in the eyes that Christmas Eve and say, hey, what's your name? And I said, it's Greg Fischer. It's Gregory Fischer, she said. And I said, yeah, you're right. What is this? She said, where are you from, Greg? And I said, I'm from New Orleans. And she said, good, don't forget it. That makes me want to cry. It's really sweet. So I wanted to be a writer since I was in 3rd grade, actually. And so to that end, I studied writing when I got to college. When I got to LSU, my major was marketing at first because I thought my stepdad owns a business and I'm going to just become, at least I can do some writing. I had no idea what I was going to do. My mom and my stepdad divorced about a year later and I was like, I'm going to be a journalist. Because at least I can make a paycheck as a writer if I study journalism. I don't know. Nobody taught me this. Nobody taught me this stuff, y'all. Meanwhile, my cousin Mackie was born on September 20th, 1974. Okay? Let's see. This is a good one. That's his hand. You see, he's a heavy smoker and a heavy drinker. He was. But he wasn't an alcoholic, you know? He never said he had a problem with drinking or anything. And he was not a miserable man. He was a boss. He was on top of his business. So I never tried to say, hey, why don't you stop? Why don't you slow down? Because it never struck me to say that to him. Why are Mackie and I close? Like I said, my mom and Mackie's mom are twin sisters. Okay, maybe that has something to do with it. Mackie graduated from Brother Martin in the early 90s, and he went to Southeastern to study studio art for maybe 2 semesters. And then he left to go to Colorado to work on the ski lifts. So I like to say that he's a typical hero. Every hero in the movies runs from their destiny for a short while. Every hero. It's a formula. And Mackie came back from Colorado under really weird circumstances, really kind of dire circumstances, and it's all in the book. I'm not